CSKA Moscow. CSKA Moscow was founded in 1911 as the Society of Ski Sports Amateurs by members of the Imperial Russian Army. The club eventually became the official team of the Soviet Army after the Russian Revolution. With government support, the club attracted top talent, contributing heavily to national teams. Its golden era began after World War II, winning league titles in 1946, 1947, and 1948 with Grigory Fedotov as a standout player. In 1952, during the Helsinki Olympics, a politically charged match against Yugoslavia, due to tensions between Stalin and Tito, resulted in CSKA, then CDKA, being disbanded by Stalin after a disappointing replay loss. The team was re-established in 1954 and won the Soviet Cup the next year, though they hit lows, such as relegation in 1984 and again in 1987. CSKA rebounded strongly, winning the final Soviet League title in 1991 and joining the new Russian top division after this dismemberment of the USSR. It took over a decade to claim its first Russian title in 2003, followed by a historic UEFA Cup victory in 2005, becoming the first Russian team to win a European trophy. Under Leonid Slutsky's leadership, the club won 3 league titles, though it later entered a period of decline with only a Russian Super Cup win since 2016. Dynamo Moscow. Dynamo Moscow was founded in 1923. Emerging from the former FC Sokolniki Moscow, Dynamo played its first official match in black and white, honoring its roots. As part of the Dynamo Sports Society and backed by the NKVD, later the KGB, the club benefited from state support. Dynamo quickly asserted dominance, winning the first 2 Soviet championships in 1936 and 1937, and later touring the UK in 1945, going undefeated. The post-war era saw continued success, with 5 more championships between 1949 and 1959, and the emergence of the legendary goalkeeper Lev Yashin, the only goalkeeper in history to win the Ballon d'Or in 1963. The club made history again in the 1971-72 season by reaching the European Cup Winners' Cup final, becoming the first Russian side to appear in a European final despite losing. However, after 1976, they won only one major trophy, the Russian Cup in 1995. The 1990s and early 2000s were marked by financial instability and poor management. The club was banned from European competitions in 2015 due to financial fair play violations. This was followed by a historic low in 2016 when Dynamo was relegated for the first time, ending its record as the only club to have always played in the top flight of Soviet and Russian football. They bounced back in 2017 and reached the Russian Cup final in 2022, narrowly losing to Spartak. Lokomotiv Moscow. Lokomotiv Moscow was founded in 1922 as Kazanka. It was initially renamed several times, but it received its final and current name in 1936 when it became the official team of the Soviet railway industry. Lokomotiv's first major success came quickly with the Soviet Cup win in 1936. However, post-WW years brought inconsistency, including multiple relegations. Although they never won a league title during the Soviet era, Lokomotiv became a symbolic international representative of Soviet football, frequently playing friendly matches around the world. This narrative changed in the 1990s under coach Yuri Semin, who rebuilt Lokomotiv into a domestic powerhouse. The club won back-to-back Russian Cups in 1996 and 1997. In 2002, they won their first league title in a dramatic golden match against CSKA Moscow and followed it up with another championship in 2004. They won a third league title in 2018. Dynamo Kyiv. Dynamo Kyiv was founded in 1927. Dynamo Kyiv represented the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic rather than Russia. During the occupation by Nazi Germany in World War II, many of the club's players joined Bakery No. 3 and formed a team called Start. Comprising former Dynamo and Lokomotiv Kyiv players, they famously defeated several German teams, culminating in a match against the undefeated Fleikelf. Despite being underfed and under-resourced, Start triumphed 5-3 in what is now mythologized as the Death Match. While Soviet-era propaganda claimed the players were executed by a firing squad for their victory, the truth is more nuanced. Several players were arrested days after the match, likely due to political affiliations rather than the game itself. Some, including NKVD officer Nikolai Korotkik, died under torture, while others were executed later under unclear circumstances. After the war, Dynamo Kyiv slowly regained prominence, making history in 1961 as the first non-Moscow team to win the Soviet top league. The club's golden era came under coach Valery Lobanovsky in the 1970s and 1980s, whose revolutionary tactical approach brought 2 UEFA Cup Winners' Cup titles and produced stars like Oleg Blokin and Igor Belanov. With Ukraine's independence in 1991, Dynamo dominated the domestic league and reached the UEFA Champions League semifinals in 1999. However, in the 2000s and 2010s, their dominance began to wane as Shakhtar Donetsk emerged as a strong rival backed by greater financial power. Lokomotiv Kyiv. Lokomotiv Kyiv is a Ukrainian team, founded in 1919. Soon after joining the Soviet Lokomotiv Sports Society, it changed its name twice, to Lokomotiv in 1936 and Lokomotiv Yuga in 1940. Their best record of competition was the 17th place in the 1938 Soviet Top League. Also, the club was multiple winner of the Kyiv Championships. In 1947, the team was disbanded by transferring team players to the Lokomotiv Moscow club. The club is now known for good training of young talent and selling them to domestic and European clubs. The most successful players among them are Andriy Yarmolenko and Oleksandr Yakovenko. They now participate in the second division of Ukrainian football and failed to have the success that the the other clubs mentioned before had. Dynamo Minsk. FC Dynamo Minsk was founded in 1927. Based in Minsk, the capital city of Belarus, the club made its breakthrough in 1940 by becoming the first and only Belarusian team to compete in the Soviet top league. Despite periods of mediocrity and multiple relegations, the club achieved a historic triumph in 1982 by winning the Soviet top league. Following their Soviet league title, Dynamo Minsk entered the European Cup, progressing to the quarterfinals before being knocked out by Dynamo Bucharest. The club maintained a respectable European presence through the 1980s, reaching the quarterfinals of both the UEFA Cup and the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Dynamo Minsk transitioned into the newly established Belarusian Premier League and immediately asserted dominance by winning the inaugural 1992 season. They continued this success with 5 league titles between 1992 and 1995, making themselves the dominant force in post-Soviet Belarusian football. Dinamo Tbilisi. FC Dinamo Tbilisi, founded in 1925, is Georgia's most successful and historic football club. During the Soviet era, they were known as one of the strongest teams outside Russia, earning respect across Europe and winning the Soviet top league twice, in 1964 and 1978. Their greatest achievement came in 1981 when they won the European Cup Winners' Cup, defeating Carl Zeiss Jena 2-1 in the final. After the Soviet Union collapsed, Dynamo dominated Georgian football, winning a record 19 league titles, 13 national cups, and 9 super cups. Despite continued domestic success, financial challenges and weaker local competition have made it difficult for them to make an impact in European tournaments in recent years. Dinamo Batumi. FC Dynamo Batumi, founded in 1923 from the merger of 2 local clubs, is based in Batumi and represents the Ajara region of Georgia. While overshadowed by Dinamo Tbilisi during the Soviet era, Batumi remained a solid regional club, competing mostly in the lower Soviet leagues. Following Georgia's independence, Dinamo Batumi became a top-flight team and saw early success in the late 1990s, finishing as league runners-up and winning both the Georgian Cup and Super Cup in 1998. The 2000s brought decline, including relegation and financial instability, but the club began a strong revival in the 2000s and 10s. After returning to the top division and gaining new ownership in 2019, Dinamo Batumi won its first league title in 2021 and repeated the feat in 2023, even after losing key players like Kavica Kvaratskhelia. Red Star Belgrade. Red Star Belgrade, known locally as Crvena Zvezda, is a prominent Serbian football club founded in 1945 out of the Serbian United Anti-Fascist Youth League. The club quickly established itself by winning early domestic titles and making a notable appearance in the semifinals of the 1956-57 European Cup. However, Red Star's true golden era began in the 1980s with a strategic plan to win the European Cup. This dream came true in 1991 when they triumphed over Marseille in the final, finishing the campaign unbeaten. Following this peak, the 1990s brought hardship due to the Yugoslav wars and the disintegration of Yugoslavia, which led to the loss of key players and organizational decline. Financial struggles plagued the club in the following decades, culminating in a UEFA ban from the 2014-15 Champions League for violating financial fair play rules. Nevertheless, Red Star experienced a revival beginning in 2017 with a return to European competitions. Their qualification for the Champions League group stage in 2018, highlighted by a victory over Liverpool, marked a major comeback. The club's resurgence was further solidified with the celebration of their 30th national championship in 2019, reaffirming their status as a dominant force in Serbian football. Partizan Belgrade. Partizan Belgrade, founded on October 4, 1945, in Belgrade, Serbia, originated as part of the Yugoslav army and quickly rose to prominence in Yugoslav football thanks to strong state support. The club's early golden period occurred in the early 1960s when they captured 3 consecutive league titles. Their most significant achievement came in the 1965-66 European Cup, where they famously defeated Manchester United in the semifinals before narrowly losing 2-1 to Real Madrid in the final, their only appearance in a European final to date. Though the 1970s brought a period of decline, Partizan rebounded with domestic titles and a Mitropa Cup win in 1978. The 1980s continued this resurgence with 2 more league championships and a Yugoslav Cup victory in 1988. Despite the turmoil of the Yugoslav wars in the 1990s, the club managed to maintain domestic dominance. Since the inception of the Serbian Superliga in 2006, Partizan has remained one of the country's most successful clubs, winning the league 8 times and the Serbian Cup 7 times. However, while domestic success has been consistent, the club has yet to replicate its earlier impact on the European stage. Steaua Bucharest. Football club FDSB, originally known as FC Steaua Bucharest, was founded on June 7, 1947, in Bucharest, Romania, by officers of the Romanian royal house under the name ASA Bucharest. The club's identity evolved over time, reflecting Romania's political changes, eventually adopting the name Steaua, meaning the star. Steaua quickly established itself by winning the Cupa României in 1949 and multiple league titles during the 1950s. Despite domestic success, political interference led to the club's withdrawal from European competition in the 1960s. The club's defining moment came in 1986 when it became the first Eastern European team to win the European Cup, defeating Barcelona on penalties. This was followed by a European Super Cup victory in 1987 and a historic 104-match undefeated streak in domestic play between 1986 and 1989. After the fall of communism, Steaua transitioned into a modern football club structure, regularly appearing in UEFA Champions Champions League group stages. Under the ownership of Gigi Bakali from 2003, the club experienced a domestic resurgence, winning several league titles. However, a long-standing legal conflict with the Romanian military regarding the rights to the Steaua name and its historical achievements culminated in a 2017 court decision, forcing the club to rebrand as FCSB. Despite the name change, FCSB remains one of Romania's most successful and well-supported football clubs. Dinamo Bucharest. Dinamo Bucharest was founded on May 14, 1948, through the merger of Unirea Tricolor MHI and Siocanul Bucharest. The club quickly rose to domestic prominence, winning its first league title in 1955 and accumulating 6 titles and 4 Romanian Cups by the 1970s. The 1980s represented Dinamo's golden era, highlighted by a European Cup semi-final appearance in 1984, where they were narrowly defeated by Liverpool. Domestically, the club maintained its dominance, with notable achievements such as winning the Romanian Cup in 1986 and striker Rodion Kamataru earning the European Golden Boot in the 1986-87 season. Although the 1990s brought flashes of success, including a league title in the 1999-2000 season, the club struggled to sustain consistent performance. The 2000s offered brief stability with additional domestic success and regular appearances in European competitions, but the 2010s were defined by financial crises, culminating in insolvency in 2014. The situation worsened, leading to the club's historic relegation to Liga 2 in the 2021-22 season. Despite this setback, Dinamo made a dramatic comeback in 2023 by securing promotion after a tense playoff victory over Argeș Pitești, signaling a potential new chapter for the storied club. Dynamo Berlin. Dynamo Berlin, officially founded on January 15, 1966 in East Germany, was a product of the post-World War II division of Germany and became one of the dominant football clubs in the German Democratic Republic, GDR. Their golden era between 1979 and 1989, during which Dynamo Berlin won an unprecedented 10 consecutive DDR Oberliga titles, a record that remains unmatched in German football. The club also made its mark in European competitions, reaching the semifinals of the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup in 1972 and the quarterfinals of the UEFA Cup in 1974 and 1984. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the subsequent political transformation in East Germany had a devastating impact on the club. With the dissolution of the Stasi and the end of state sponsorship, Dynamo Berlin was renamed FC Berlin in February 1990 and failed to qualify for European competition that season. The 1990s proved difficult as the club struggled amid Germany's reunification, both financially and competitively, slipping into lower division and amateur football. Although it restored its original name, BFC Dynamo, in 1999, the club has remained largely outside the top levels of German football, occasionally reaching the regional Liga but never regaining its former prominence. Dynamo Dresden. Dynamo Dresden, founded on April 12, 1953, emerged in East Germany. The club won its first DDR Oberliga title within months of its founding. The 1970s marked Dynamo Dresden's golden era, during which it secured 5 league titles and became a regular presence in European competitions. Their most notable international achievement came in the 1988-89 UEFA Cup, where they reached the semifinals. The reunification of Germany in 1990 brought a dramatic shift in fortunes for Dynamo Dresden. After a brief stint in the top tier, they were relegated in 1995 and later declared bankrupt in 1998, falling into the lower tiers of German football. In 2011, they returned to the second Bundesliga. Dinamo Zagreb. GNK Dinamo Zagreb, founded in 1911 and officially re-established in 1945, following the dissolution of its predecessor Građanski. Dinamo became a powerhouse in Yugoslav football, notably winning the 1967 Intercities Fairs Cup, making them the first Yugoslav club to win a European title. Following Croatia's independence in 1991, Dinamo played a central role in shaping the Croatian First Football League. Despite a controversial name change to Croatia Zagreb in the 1990s under political pressure, the club reverted to Dinamo Zagreb in 2000. The club's modern golden era spans from 2000 to 2015, marked by consistent domestic dominance, the development of international stars like Luka Modric, and regular appearances in European competitions. In recent years, Dinamo has reaffirmed its supremacy in Croatian football, consistently winning league titles and delivering strong European performances, including a historic knockout round appearance in the 2018-19 UEFA Europa League and a 4-0 win against Atalanta in the 2019-20 UEFA Champions League season. CSKA Sofia. CSKA Sofia, founded officially on May 5, 1948. The team captured its first league title in its debut season. The 1950s and 1960s saw unparalleled domestic success, including an unmatched streak of 11 consecutive league titles. The golden era in the 1970s and 1980s brought European recognition, highlighted by a historic run to the semifinals of the European Cup in 1982 after eliminating Liverpool. This period also saw the rise of Hristo Stoichkov, who later won the Ballon d'Or and became one of Bulgaria's most iconic footballers. Despite winning league titles in the 1990s and 2000s, off-field turmoil led to setbacks such as a UEFA competition ban in 2008 and eventual financial collapse in 2015, which relegated the club to the third tier. However, with strong fan backing and new ownership, CSKA returned to the top flight by 2017. Partizani Tirana. KF Partizani Tirana was founded in 1946 as the official club of the Albanian army. The club won its first league title in 1947 and went on to claim 15 15 more during Albania's communist rule. Their fiercest rivalry developed with 17 Nentari, now KF Tirana, a politically charged derby that remains Albania's most intense to this day. Partizani also made history in 1970 by becoming the only Albanian club to win an international trophy, the Balkans Cup. However, Albania's isolationist regime stunted the club's international progress, with local talents like Panajot Pano never receiving the chance to compete or grow abroad due to strict travel restrictions. The fall of communism in 1991 marked the beginning of a turbulent era for Partizani. The club was relegated in 2010, hitting a historic low. A long rebuilding process followed, and by 2013, Partizani had returned to the Albanian Superliga. Their crowning achievement came in 2019, when they won the league title for the first time in 26 years. Dinamo Tirana. Dinamo Tirana was established in 1950. The club won 4 consecutive league titles right after its founding, and achieved a record-breaking 25-game winning streak. Throughout the 1950s and 1960s, Dinamo amassed 9 league titles in just 11 years. Following the fall of communism in 1991, Dinamo Tirana's fortunes declined rapidly. Despite brief revivals in 2002 and 2010 with league title wins, the club was relegated in 2012 for the first time in its history. It spent most of the following decade in the second tier. Dinamo eventually returned to the Superliga in 2021 and has ever since been growing, competing for titles in recent years, even winning the Albanian Cup in 2025. Livorno, founded in 1915, is a unique case of a communist club because, different to Eastern Bloc clubs, it doesn't have an origin from communism, but rather has a distinctly left-wing identity embraced by a segment of its fans. The city of Livorno is a historically left-wing city, with it being the birthplace of the Italian Communist Party. Over the decades, especially from the 1980s onward, ultra groups like the Brigate Autonomi Livornesi openly embraced Marxist imagery. Livorno's most iconic figure, Cristiano Lucarelli, further fueled this identity with his outspoken left-wing views and gestures, such as his double fist salute, his 99 jersey dedicated to the ultras, and his financial support of fans arrested for rioting. Livorno has had little sustained success on the pitch. Their most notable achievements include finishing as Serie A runners-up in 1942 to 43 and qualifying for the UEFA Cup in 2006 after a 6th-place league finish. However, financial mismanagement and inconsistent performance led to the club's bankruptcy and eventual relegation to amateur levels by 2021. Now they compete in Serie D. Hapoel Tel Aviv. Hapoel Tel Aviv was founded in the 1920s. Throughout the 20th century, the club maintained affiliations with various leftist and Marxist political parties, including Mapai, Mapam, and Maki. Even today, its fan base continues to uphold that legacy, frequently displaying communist imagery, including portraits of Karl Marx and Che Guevara, and waving banners calling for global worker solidarity. With 13 league titles and a record 16 State Cup victories, Hapoel has enjoyed decades of domestic dominance. Internationally, the club made history in 1967 by winning the Asian Club Championship, and again in 2001-2 by reaching the UEFA Cup quarterfinals. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.